What you see here is a Casablanca Zephyr. 4 blades, 52 inches, traditional brown finish. The Zephyr was Casablanca's flagship model of sorts back when they first started out. In the late 70s and early 80s, this was seemingly the most popular model on their line, as they are rather common from this era. Of course, by the late 80s, they had been taken over by the Delta II and the Panama as most popular model, and even more so by the 90s once the Zephyr had been discontinued. As such, some people might see Zephyrs as not very interesting or rather common, and in some cases I would agree. However, where my opinion deviates is in the rare finishes, because it's me, so of course I like the rare finishes. Because the Zephyr was a rather common and popular model for Casablanca back then, of course it got offered in many different finishes and finish combinations. However, it wouldn't be Casablanca without some semi-inexplicable stipulations. So it seems that once the K55 era officially kicked off with Slumber Quiet and all that in place at the beginning of 1981, Casablanca had designated the Zephyr as the fancier model that would have plated finishes like brass, copper, chrome, and pewter, whilst the Delta, which had just been introduced at the start of 81, would be more of the budget fan designated towards painted finishes, i.e. white, brown, and black. As at the time, the Delta was identical to the Zephyr, only difference is that it had Slumber 3 electronics instead of Slumber Quiet electronics, and there could be some other variations based on luck of the draw, such as if a Zephyr had the thicker switch cap or taller sideband, which were leftover parts from the K63 era. But aside from those small differences, they were the same fan. So seemingly that's what they were going for. Of course, all that got thrown out the window by 1984 when the Delta got finishes like polished and antique brass, and of course the Zephyr still got mixed finishes in 1981, like you could get traditional brown and antique brass or charcoal black and polished brass. That was no problem. So very, very weird. However, as I've mentioned before, the way to circumnavigate these weird yes and no conditions was by performing a custom order. You could have a custom order of any model with any finish you wanted, pretty much, and that's how you could pretty much make it a Burger King, where you can have it your way. And I have a feeling that's what happened here, as straight traditional brown Zephyrs are ridiculously rare. So much so that it seems plausible that they were a custom order only thing, at least for the K55 Slumber Quiet era. They were probably a thing for the K63 era, but K63s are a rare beast in of themselves, so. But as for K55 Slumber Quiet, it definitely seems that these were a custom order only type deal. As if you wanted straight brown, you'd just get a Delta instead, so. So I had been wanting one of these for a long, long time now. Of course, I've had a brown Delta for a number of years now, but it's just not the same thing, you know? You just have to have the brown with the Slumber Quiet in order to really satisfy that itch, if you know what I mean. So a few of these had surfaced over the years of both the K55 and K63 variety, but of course they were always either in Florida or got scooped up by particularly greedy sellers or what have you. But then finally, a whole cluster of them was unearthed by fellow fan collector Matt Bly, and thankfully I managed to buy one off of him. And here we are. I am exceptionally excited to have this fan. This is something that has been on my want list for many, many years now, and I'm very happy to have one. Has a brown fitter on it. I do not believe it's Casablanca, but it blends in just fine. Blade finish, I believe, is pecan? At least that's what I want to say it is, but could be wrong about that. Tag is on this side, CB1777. It is a legit brown Zephyr from the factory. Got that oh so sweet Slumber Quiet knob. Very lovely. And a tassel pull chain. Alright, now I'll go ahead and demonstrate this fan. Starting off with the light. Currently have a 90-watt incandescent bulb in this fan. Limit on the socket is 100 watts, so should be fine. Okay, now we'll start the fan up proper. Currently set to minimum speed on the Slumber Quiet controls. Very lovely. Always nice to see that satisfying Slumber Quiet slow end speed, especially when it's on, or when it's a model for a fan finish that you just never ever see. You really only ever saw these on the Delta at the time, and of course mixed finishes for the Zephyr and perhaps the Four Seasons as well, but straight brown, yeah, that was a big no-no. Again, unless you were buying the Delta. Okay, let's turn it up a bit. Fan is dead silent. If I'm understanding correctly, I believe the bearings in this fan were replaced before it was sold to me. So it is in very nice cosmetic condition, and running condition as well. Go up again. So, real quick, not going to dwell on this because I probably already have way too much in other videos, but Real quick, I just want to open up the can of worms that, while it is semi-understandable that straight brown for the Zephyr was not offered mainstream due to the existence of the Delta. Oh, and the cat wants to say hello. But anyways, while that may be the case for the Zephyr, the same cannot be said for the Four Seasons, as there was never any sort of alternate budget model for the Four Seasons. So why that model was restricted from getting painted finishes like black and brown, I'll never understand. And considering the Four Seasons is my favorite model, I think that is genuinely tragic. I like it legitimately, I think, is one of the most unfortunate missed opportunities in Casablanca's history. Anyhow, now we're approaching more of a medium speed. Yeah, this fan runs great. Slumber Quiet works, the bearings are quiet. Absolutely lovely. Alright, that's just shy of full speed. And then there's full speed. This fan is wonderful. Very nice performer. Cosmetically in great shape. And a rare finish. And there you have it, a traditional brown Slumber Quiet Casablanca Zephyr.